the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, and they don't stop coming 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 and they don't stop coming. They don't stop coming and they don't stop coming and they don't stop coming and they don't stop coming.
Hi, this is ADHD Pizza.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Riley.
Well, one of us is lying.
It's Caleb.
It's Sam.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
I'm so confused. Welcome, everybody, to ADHD Pizza After Dark. This week, I've been feeling fine. This is the karaoke episode, apparently. What is the best Set the Mood song?
The best Set the Mood song?
I think it's Dancing in the Moonlight.
That or the Peppa Pig theme song? Do they have a theme song? I don't even know if they do.
I'm Peppa Pig. This is Mommy Pig.
Who lives in a sex dungeon under the sea?
Mama Pig?
Squidward SquarePants.
Squidward doesn't wear pants.
That's why it's the
that
sex
makes it
dungeon.
better.
That's why he has all that metal around his windows.
The reason I will never take
the
50 Shades of Grey seriously ever. Like, I understand that some people use it as like mom porn or whatever. The reason I'll never take it seriously is the fact of sex genes.
I've never actually looked at it.
They go into very specific detail in the book about how this man fetishizes denim.
That's weird.
And he has like a very specific pair of jeans, and he will not fuck if he does not have the jeans on.
Doesn't he have to take them off for that, though?
No.
Wait, they stay on the whole time? He just uses the zipper?
As far as I understand it. I've never read it myself either.
Is it essentially like assless chaps?
I think they're just a ripped pair of jeans.
Frontless chaps.
But all chaps don't have a groin.
That's true.
You can get it through the, but then there's zippers, and those are not comfortable
For either party, I would imagine.
No, I can't imagine it would be.
The only thing I know about 50 Shades of Grey.
BDSM shit.
I mean, it is about BDSM.
The only thing I know about 50 Shades of Grey is the portions that I've heard Gilbert Godfrey read.
That's what I was gonna say. That's like, I know a little bit from like jokes that have been made on different stuff that I've listened to, but I've never read it or seen it personally. So
I'm okay with that myself.
Yeah, I would rather just listen to Gilbert Godfrey do a full audiobook of it for me.
And then she took. I can't even do a Gilbert Godfrey.
It's so hard. His voice is so unique.
He took his thumb and put it against my nipple.
Okay,
That's the best I got for now. I might have to practice a little bit.
I can't take any Gilbert Godfrey seriously because every time I hear his voice,
Digit.
I think of Digit from Cyberchase.
He's also the bird in Aladdin.
Oh yes, I know.
He just plays
My
a lot
God,
of
he's
birds.
Digit from Cyberchase?
Yeah.
It's been way too long since I've seen Cyberchase. It's one of those shows that I remember distinctly watching a whole lot of, but don't remember anything about. Nothing.
What, Cyberchase?
Yeah.
Dude, that was the shit back in the day.
I watched a ton of Dragon Tales and don't remember anything about Dragon Tales.
You know,
I don't remember anything about Dragon Tales either.
I feel like the spaceship from Cyberchase was mainly, it looked like a giant computer mouse.
It did. That was the play there. It was all supposed to be computer based, like inside a computer network.
So we need to talk about PBS shows for a little bit.
Which is not the topic of this podcast,
Not the
but
topic,
we will gladly talk about it.
But I need to talk
We
about
could talk
this.
about CBS shows for all.
It's not CBS shows; those are different.
PBS.
That's what
All
I
right,
meant to
here's
say.
the thing I need to talk about. So
Penis?
for my era of PBS, people talk about Dragon Tales, they talk about Cyberchase, and shows like that.
In Between the Lions.
In Between the Lions is another really
Arthur.
great one. Arthur, I hated.
I loved
Arthur can
Arthur.
suck my cock.
Arthur is a minor. For legal reasons, that was a joke.
I'll be damned if I get lectured by him.
Anyway, so the show that everybody throws into this era that I absolutely did not watch, nor do I understand why people throw it into the same era, is Rough Ruffman.
You mean Fetch with Rough Ruffman?
Correct.
It was slightly later.
It was in my...
But they played at the same... Like, those shows were still continuing at the time that Ruffman was starting.
Okay.
And it was an okay show, but it was very different. Like, it was not really a children's show.
In Between the Lines was straight up great.
It was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Cliffhanger. Hanging from a cliff.
Oh, yeah, Clifford.
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Clifford was another one.
Fantastic.
Great show. I watched a lot of PBS as a kid. I think Nick was my second go-to, but I always wanted to watch Cartoon Network.
This boy over here had cable.
That's what I'm
for a
saying.
little bit. Did I ever talk? Did I talk about this on the podcast?
I think you talked about it on the podcast.
I feel like we've had this conversation.
We've definitely talked
about what I did.
Once was on the podcast.
Okay. So I won't tell the whole story. I ordered cable channels on my parents.
Yeah, you told us about this one.
Yeah. So I could watch Cartoon Network.
Well, you do that.
And you know what I watched? You know what the shitty thing about all of it is? The show that I decided to watch? Johnny Test.
Well, you do that.
I don't know. It was bad. It wasn't as good. Like, I wanted to watch it for, like, Dexter's Laboratory. And then it was already on Boomerang, which I already had. I don't know. I was just a rebel for no reason.
A rebel without a cause.
He's lying. He just wanted to see boobies.
Where?
Those channels that
it
you
depends
ordered.
on what you ordered, but...
I didn't know that at the time. I was too young for that. I definitely was, like... I was at the stage of looking up boobs on Google, but I wasn't, like... I didn't know that you could order, like, porn channels on Dish Network.
It's kind of an odd concept if you think about it.
It really is. Like, yes, I have my 70-inch TV, and I'm going to order for $3 for this one movie. I'm going to order porn? Anyway.
I have a feeling it was more than $3. Like, I feel like the type of people who would order that are also the type of people willing to pay more than $3 for that.
That's
$3
true.
is like a Gatorade.
I have a great story about this. So we had a babysitter when I was a kid.
No.
Uh-oh.
And I remember distinctly that we had this babysitter, and then that we got new babysitters. You know, you're kids, so you don't really let in on the whole story. She was politely dismissed for ordering said channels on our Dish Network.
On yours?
She.
What the heck?
Correct. Yeah. So
That's a big oof.
that is a big
It's a
oof.
massive oof.
It showed up on the bill, and Dad was like, "We're just not gonna say anything." But
Watch,
you don't.
it was
you
probably
can't
one
say
of
that.
it was probably one of you guys who ordered it either on purpose or on accident, and she got fired for
Absolutely not. We were way too young for that. We're talking 7, 8.
it. On accident.
Okay, maybe.
And then she got fired for it.
I don't think so,
That'd be
sir.
funny.
I don't think so, sir. Okay, so the topic for this week, we're just talking kind of just casually. We were going to talk about D&D stuff. Never mind.
Yeah, like specifically about getting into D&D because we're all relatively new to it.
And we've made tons of references to it on the podcast.
It's time, my son.
It is time. It's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger than this. I admit I'm just
not
the same as I was.
Don't you understand?
But I'm never changing who I am.
I'm uncomfortable now.
With that voice?
Or with my thumb on your breast.
I could do this voice for the whole podcast.
I cannot do Gilbert Godfrey for the whole podcast. I can barely do it for 2
The
seconds.
only bad thing is it'll make my eyes water.
What?
It'll make my eyes water.
His eyes are already watering,
I
folks.
know it hurts too bad.
Why does it hurt?
No, I never
Why
really.
don't you blink?
What was that?
It was Kermit.
Why don't you blink there, sir?
I'm going to commit suicide.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
This podcast is brought to you in front of a live studio audience.
This podcast is brought to you by Mossberg 870. I mean, for legal reasons, that was a joke.
But for practical,
For practical reasons, I would like a Mossberg 870.
They're a pretty great shotgun, to be honest.
They are incredibly moddable as well.
Indeed.
Anyway.
You ever seen the internet meme or the?
Whoa, memes are on the internet?
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
I've only ever had them printed out and handed to me.
You ever seen the meme you find in the Dewey Decimal
the
System at
clip
the county
of
library?
the guys playing? It cut out for a second. Sorry.
No, we just peaked.
Oh.
What is
Anyways.
this podcast anymore?
You said we peaked. Anyway, continue, Riley.
Anyways, it's a group of people that play Rainbow Six, and he's like,
Oh,
you want to go?
McNasty.
Yeah. And he's like, there's a difference between racking a Nerf handgun and
No,
racking,
that's Russian Badger. No, I know the exact clip.
and racking an actual 12 gauge.
I remember the exact clip.
And that was an actual 12 game.
It's got
I kind
it's
of want to
got
go grab mine.
grouse. It's Badger, grouse, and Heavenly, I think. And they're talking about. And I think Heavenly goes, "You want to go? You want to go?" And Rax is like Nerf Scar H or whatever. And then Goose is like, "Oh yeah, let's fucking go, brother!" And then loads an actual shotgun. Russian Badger is one of the best channels on YouTube.
Yep,
So
that
good.
was the
Russian Badger,
second-
if you hear us sponsor us on your content, please. 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 Please.
That was also the second podcast we ever made.
Oh yeah, we did talk about the Russian Badger, didn't we? I forgot about. I mean, like it's reached my threshold of things I will eventually forget about for the rest of my
See,
life.
we've given you a shout out, Badger. You need to give us a shout out too. This
I agree.
Only seems fair.
You don't watch Badger.
I've watched many a clip of Badger, but I have not actually gone on his channel or anything because I don't go on anyone's channel. Sadly, I
That's
just
true.
Go on
You stopped
iFunny.
watching YouTube.
I just go on iFunny. The good clips all end up on iFunny.
Russian spyware.
It is Russian spyware, so the Badger
Anyway.
should be a fan.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, Dragons and Dungeons.
So, I feel like I have the most to say
Wait,
for my
how-
backstory.
How did this hooligan get out?
He's a hooligan.
I don't trust him over by those cables.
Eat him.
Oh, he's jumping up on the table.
Hi, buddy.
Waylon, you're too young to vape, bro.
We got a little puppy jumping up on the table trying to grab Sam's vape.
You're not 21.
He's trying to make me. He's trying to make me vape. What?
I said coming up to grab Sam's vape. Not to try to make you vape. He was gonna vape with your vape.
He's trying to hit that.
He just wants to be cool.
In
In
2016.
2015. Yeah. That's on the same level of. So our friend Josh once, as I hit the vape, and he goes, "Oh man, is this 2015 again?" or something like that. And that's on the same level of insults as when my brother came up to me, looked me directly in the eye, patted my stomach, and asked me when the baby was due. Like just insults that go for some reason, for no reason, just go down into my soul, and I never forget them.
If you want to know how skinny the boys in my family are, I get made fun of for being the fat one.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Caleb is like 8 inches taller than me and weighs 20 pounds less.
I am 160 pounds and 6'3".
Oh, you're only 10 pounds heavy. I'm only 10 pounds
I got
heavier.
made fun of for being the fat one when I was 140 pounds and 6'3".
I've always been the fat one.
Riley, you're the skinny one in your family.
Nah.
Talking about siblings.
Siblings.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Siblings, I'm the fat one.
Fair enough.
One of two.
Wait a minute. That's just your sister trashing on you. Riley, open your eyes.
I still got most people in my family by substantial amount.
Really?
Well, yeah. Now, yeah.
But it's all either muscle or love. One of the two.
Or it's love muscle.
What, you want to see my love muscle?
That got way out of hand really quickly.
I apologize. I've been listening to a D&D podcast.
Oh, yeah, you've been
Dun-
listening to
Dungeons
Dungeons and
and
Daddies. Yeah,
10 out of 10 recommend.
it's a really great
I would
podcast.
love for our group to do something very similar.
We kind of do.
Well, we don't record.
Did
it.
you
But,
get
like,
to the
if-
Did you get to the BDSM bonus episode?
Oh, I'm past that. I'm way past that. I'm back. I did full circle back to when the guy who just left comes back.
Trying to think, the guy that just left.
Are you farther than Sam?
Probably.
No.
I'm on episode 6.
Oh, maybe I am. I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Riley, didn't you only start listening to it like 2 weeks
I'm on
ago?
episode 19.
Okay.
That's when they go and get Grant from the four nights.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
And they land at the pub in section G.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of... Yeah, that's
beautiful.
great.
I love that podcast.
It is a very, very good podcast.
I listened to it the entire way to Sandusky and all the way back.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
And all day at work.
When I first started working at C&P, that's all I would listen to. All day. Like 8 hours of it a day.
Oh, it's so good.
Until Scott yelled at me.
Yeah.
What, for making references or getting caught listening to music?
Oh, for not being able to hear.
Oh.
This is true.
That's why I keep one earphone out, one earphone in.
I did that.
Oh.
I still couldn't hear.
You couldn't hear because was it like
It's still a wombo combo of being a hard place to hear in general and having one earbud in and having a hard time hearing sometimes in general.
Yes.
This is a big old wombo combo.
oh that
Wombo combo.
that or like turn down the music so I can see better. Turn down.
I am kind of that person.
But I'm saying you're focused on the background instead of the foreground.
Yeah. That's typically it. All right, so Dungeons and Dragons. We're getting there. We're gonna get there, guys.
Yeah. So we recently started playing Dungeons and Dragons. What?
Maybe like 3 months ago, 2 months ago,
something like
somewhere
that,
in that
something
range.
like
I'm gonna say 3.
So it's Sam's first time being a DM, as far as I'm aware, which is
Correct.
Dungeon Master.
Also, Game Master if you play other
Or Game
RPG
Master.
games.
Yeah. I think everyone playing, it's their first. Maybe Dan's played Dungeons and Dragons.
Dan has
once
before.
or twice casually, but not like super seriously.
Yes. Yep.
So
I did.
everyone has questions. DM has to look up stuff sometimes, but he does a good job of answering our questions.
I've played one other campaign.
I played one
You
other
played-
game, not a whole campaign.
You played a
prior
full
to this.
campaign?
I played like 6 sessions.
Okay.
6 or 7 sessions.
That's like a mini campaign.
Yeah, well, this is during camp when you only have 6 weeks of camp.
Okay, fair
So,
enough.
Sam, if you want to do a brief overview of what D&D is in general.
Everybody asks me, and I don't know how to describe it.
So, Dungeons and Dragons is a role-playing game that has a system of rules that are made to help you tell a story interactively. The best way to put it is kind of think of it as a video game that you are telling with your friends.
You're kind of writing it.
Yeah, you're writing it
everyone
as you
together
go.
is writing this video game / TV show.
Or book. I
book,
think a
or
book.
book,
Actually,
yeah.
I think book is the best
Yeah.
analogy. Think of it as a build your own adventure book that you are actively doing with multiple people.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Mad Lib adventure book at some point.
Yeah, I would put it that way. It also, I mean, like you can incorporate bits of like acting.
That'd be a good way to write a story. Just use D&D and dice to tell.
I mean, the
Tell how-
campaign that we're doing right now is exactly that. Like they told
Yeah.
a story through that.
Yeah.
Like you can incorporate parts of acting in with like the role playing and not in a sexual way. I mean, unless you want it to be, I guess.
Sometimes it is.
It depends on.
But you write the story. It's whatever
That's
you
true.
want.
Yeah, and it's the dungeon master's job to kind of have the story beats in mind and gear people towards those story beats while also giving them as much
Leeway as possible.
much of their own decision.
Creative licensing.
Yes. Yes, he gives them creative licensing. So yeah, this is my first campaign I've ever done, and I'm coming into this doing my own campaign. I feel like there's a lot of people who are inspired to play D&D off of Play Podcasts.
Yep.
But this is my first campaign ever, and I really didn't play too much before that. Like I've played maybe 6 sessions. So
And can't you definitely like this is the campaign that comes with the starter kit, right?
oh, we're way past that now.
But I'm saying if they want to have somewhere to start.
Oh, sure.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, like we started our campaign off of the same story that was in the starter kit. Too. Sure, yeah. The first couple sessions that we did, I completely wrote myself.
Oh, the Griffin and all that?
Yeah, the Griffin was all mine, but I
thought that
wrote
was
it.
the starter kit.
No, that was me. I wrote that based on the first mission in The Witcher 3. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was all mine. So, I mean, eventually, if we get through this campaign that we're doing right now, I want to write my own. I feel like that'd be really fun. Kind of, I guess.
I feel like this is like a perfect point to make it your own from right now.
I agree with you, but I kind of am going to depend on whether I make it my own from here based on your decisions, if that makes sense.
I should have blown up that damn moon.
There's still a
They're at a
chance.
I don't have it any. I mean, we could still find
Come
some
on,
way to
Caleb, it's
destroy
me.
it.
They're at a moon base right now, and Caleb keeps threatening to blow up the moon, which throws off the entire story.
Basically, you'd have to rewrite the story from scratch.
I
I had the capability to blow up the moon for like 2 sessions.
Or I could throw everything out of the window that they've ever done.
The thing I failed to realize is, if you guys are not familiar with D&D at all, there's a huge community now, and it's really only started since the 5th edition came out in 2014, called Play Podcast, where during the podcast they are telling the story of the Dungeons and Dragons game. That's the podcast me and Riley were referencing earlier, is Dungeons and Daddies.
God, such a good podcast.
It is a really great podcast. And then
Caleb,
I
you
listen
should
to the
definitely
Adventure
listen
Zone. There's also Critical Role and Dimension 20 and a bunch of other ones. But these play podcasts tell a story during the course of the podcast. Like, the whole podcast is to tell the story. And one thing I did not account when I decided to actually start running a game based on a story put into a podcast is how much, when it's just you and a bunch of friends, if they have any level of intelligence, how much thinking outside the box people will do. And I failed to realize that in the podcasts, a lot of times they are really just letting the person tell that story and going along with it.
Yeah.
Like, I had to have a talk with everybody after we had finished the first mission. Like, we can go do whatever from here. I am going to be pushing you guys towards the podcast because that's what I know. But like, I kind of had to like level and be like, I did not account for what you guys could potentially do with all of this. So yeah, it's one of those. It's a game where you can do almost anything you want. It is very complicated. I will say it is incredibly complicated.
Yep.
Rules focused. Riley, you have to make an attack roll before you do damage.
Let me go get my dice.
But
Do I though? Do I?
yeah, every time, Riley.
Wrong.
I swear to God, every single time. So there are very specific ways that
Not for breath weapon. I don't.
That's okay, fair enough. Not for magic missile either. So when you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons,
He took out his magic missile.
oh God, his mic was peaking so bad.
You know what else was peaking?
You in the 80s.
Oof.
Oof.
So for Dungeons and Dragons, combat is done a very specific way, and you have to make a certain roll to see if you hit somebody, and you have to make a certain roll to see how much damage you did if you hit them. And I swear to God,
And who
every
goes in
single
what order?
who goes in what order and all that stuff. I swear to God, every single session, somebody just forgets the list of rolls. Somebody forgets either initiative, attack rolls, or damage rolls.
Yes.
Every time. Anyway,
We've been through how many sessions now? It's been a lot.
we've done probably
Probably-
15.
Yeah.
About 12 to 15.
At least 12.
Maybe 12. 12 would be 3 months.
Yeah, I suppose
No,
that's
we
fair.
skipped 1 or 2. So 12 would be
Yeah,
like...
we got a couple months where it's 5 weekends.
to be 3.5 months.
It's December.
A month is only 4 weekends.
So
Some are 5.
out
yeah,
of
and
the,
then the next one.
out of you two,
Next one's 4.
what do you guys
Right, some are 5.
what do you guys like the most about D&D? What do you guys like about it so far?
It's not as predictable, and the rules are more there's a general set of rules, but you get to kind of make the game itself.
Yeah.
And like,
Even as a player.
yeah, as a player, you get to kind of
You
make the game
may
itself.
be
Like,
guiding us, but we're making the story.
like
Come to
the
life.
person leading the story could try to get you into a battle. That could be his whole thought process for it, and you could seduce the attackers and lay with them and biblically and have them pay you for it, and the DM just has to, like, if you get the proper rolls on your dice and are persuasive in your description of how you're doing this, the DM has to go along with it and kind of tweak the story a little bit.
Especially when you get nat 20s.
Yeah. So there's
Nat 20 means naturally rolled 20 on a 20.
You're rolling
you
that
can-
one and he punches you in the face.
You can try to do pretty much anything you want, as long as you there's a dice system. So the person leading the game presents you with a situation, and what you do that with that situation is entirely up to you. Whether you succeed in that or not is up to mostly the dice. But you can strategically choose what you try to do, and you have like different strengths and weaknesses. So I'm a bard, and bards have really high charisma, and I've specifically upgraded my charisma and my persuasion when I can, so I have a really good chance
He's
of
a
being
level
able.
4 and he has a plus 11. It's dumb.
For those of you guys who know D&D, that's
beautiful.
pretty dang great. But
Most other things
and
you
awful,
get like a
but,
+3 or a +4.
It's awful for me is what it is.
so basically, it's very easy for him to present me with an enemy and me to just be like, Becky, you won't smash. And usually it works.
I would say there's certain enemies that like straight up will not listen to you.
Sometimes you can't, and that's partially
That's
based
when
on
you
the
gotta make 'em
dice and
roll.
partially based on creative light. The DM has some ability to direct a story.
Like there's a giant flaming, like in the campaign we had a giant flaming raging dwarf like that was actively on fire. There was really no way that you were going to seduce him to stop being
I mean,
on
maybe if I
fire.
rolled like 4 nat 20s in a row.
Right, exactly.
I tackled him mid-flight.
You also took 12 points of fire damage.
Because he was really trying to get us to stop stopping.
It was beautiful.
And the great thing is, like, y'all have already gone against the podcast that I based the story off of. So, you know, I have to kind of like account for those things. Like, you guys stopping him in the mine itself, like, sets a new parameters. Like, the fact that that town still exists, I have absolutely no idea how it's supposed to work. But yeah, it's a collaborative effort, and it's not really like anything else. Like, you can play an RPG game and you can play games with your friends online, but it's not even anywhere close to the same experience.
Yeah, because games online don't have the game engine itself is not going to recreate an entirely different game based on the choices you make. You'll have a very few choices you make that have very few predetermined outcomes. Whereas in this, you can make pretty much any choice you want, and the game engine, aka the dungeon master person leading the session, can then modify it however he wants or she wants in order to make that an entirely new thing.
It's kind of the difference of like playing something that's built around certain programs versus something built around rules, and you get to build the programming.
Yes.
Yeah. So
It's also a lot of fun playing with a bunch of people with ADHD because the path of the story changes quite a bit.
yes, it does. And you guys think outside the lines in a lot of ways that I just don't expect a lot of times. You immediately sleeping with that dragonborn person.
I immediately hoard myself out in order to get gold on the very first session we made because I knew I could do it.
You weren't supposed to have any money.
I know I wasn't
For that
but I
mission.
wanted it.
So Riley, what really draws you to D&D?
I don't know, just being able to bounce off cool ideas and I don't know, create your own story with your friends and joke around and really make it come to life. And there's just a certain camaraderie with playing with a certain set of friends repeatedly, like on a weekly basis, like we do.
Yeah, I'd agree. It also adds like it's definitely a different dynamic than the regular group as well.
It's not like a regular board game that ends and you know what's going to happen every single time.
Exactly. Like this campaign could easily take us a couple years to get through.
If you wanted it to.
If you guys want it to. Like I'm letting you build up as much of the story as you want. Like it's completely
Blow up the moon.
he really wants to blow up the moon.
I feel like we need to
It's a
find
little late now.
We should pirate an airship.
An airship? Yeah.
You do have a foldable boat. That's another thing about D&D is
we should make an airship.
you can't just play it.
A foldable airship.
You can't just play it with anybody. You kind of have to have
We combine the boots of flying.
I
Oh my
could use
God.
my strength of picking things up with my winged boots.
Oh my God. You guys are getting real meta with this. I love it.
We got tons of rope.
An artificer could do that for you.
What is an artificer?
It's somebody who is specifically into alchemy type magic. They
So like a mixture of science and magic.
Correct.
Like the formulas of
the law of
magic.
equivalent exchange. If you take something, something must be given.
I'm thinking like we just have some ropes go up and like have a blimp.
There you go.
sorts.
That's another thing about D&D. You know, even in this conversation that we're having right now, that's really interesting to me, and the thing I really love is that it kind of requires a specific type of mind to be able to think outside the box and operate within wild scenarios that really would never happen in real life. There's a lot of like, I feel like D&D is meant to, like, it can be
Sam, are you trying to tell me that I'm not going to come
fantasy milsim.
across a 6 foot tall dragon person that shoots lightning out their mouth?
No, Riley.
I wanna
And you
fucking-
also
I
don't
wa-
just
I
have a
wanna
growth potion.
I don't want to talk about it, Sam.
But there are like wild scenarios that will end up happening. Like the memes about D&D are really true, where it's like, I went to go fight a dragon today and accidentally ended up seducing it and gave birth to its children. And then we went to the bar and there was a secret room under the bar. Like these wild scenarios that just are so out there. And yeah, being able to operate in those scenarios and come up with creative ways to accomplish those situations are really, really fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
And part of that's just practice. You don't necessarily have to be good at that to begin with. Like,
Sure.
hearing
Yeah,
a couple
absolutely.
examples of it first and playing with people who are good at that will get you having some ideas towards it. Then once you do it a couple times, you'll get pretty good at it.
Sure. I feel like, you know, if you...
Like, I'm the wrong personality type for D&D.
You think so?
I'm the
I
wrong
disagree with
personality
that.
type for D&D. Yeah, no,
What do you mean?
like,
Because you play it pretty well compared to most.
I don't know. Like, I'm not that artistic.
But
And I have to think.
But that's the point. of the game.
My imagination and humor and such in the game comes from thought, not from instinct. Like, it's forced, not in an unpleasant way.
But I think that makes you a better player than a DM. There are some, like, straight up, like, being quote-unquote good at D&D doesn't really exist, but there are people who are better players and better DMs. I actually think I'm a better player personally, but I also make a pretty fair DM as far as things go because I'm able to come up with stuff.
I feel like I'm
on
the
the
other way
fly.
around.
I think you would make a better DM than me.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Just coming up with scenarios and throwing people into those scenarios.
Did you ask for my thumb? You said good time.
Caleb,
my-
I'm not appreciating how close your thumb got to my nipple.
Oh,
You're not appreciating it?
Not as much as you'd like.
apparently not.
That's upsetting.
But like, it is the difference of having a scenario presented to you and you operate within that scenario versus coming up with a scenario to present to people
That's
and then
true.
work within your space.
I would have to put work into coming up with a scenario, and I'm not good at putting work into things that are imaginative.
That's fair. I don't think D&D requires creativity initially. I think like after a certain point, you know, like we just did for our campaign, I thought it was really important that we come up with backstories. And I thought that was a really fun process, like coming up with backstories, because at the end of the day, it helps you choose decisions that are based more on your character than they are based on you. But, you know, giving you guys questions specifically about what your backstory was deliberate. Like that was something I did specifically so you all could operate within a certain space and you wouldn't have to come up with your backstory. Because I feel like just asking you what's your character's backstory is really kind of disingenuous to anybody who needs operational standards to be able to actually work within. Because I feel like Caleb, your ability to work within the spaces that I've created are some of the best that we've come up with so far.
I work very good with confines.
Yeah, having different standards that are put up to you, I think that works a little better. Riley, I feel like, is kind of the opposite. I feel like if I offered him a standard, like if I offered you, here is the very vague description of what I've presented, you would be able to come up with things a lot better.
100%.
Yeah.
Don't confine me.
Yeah, I feel like the more I've confined you, the more restricted you feel.
All right.
I definitely hear something.
I hear
So do
something
I.
talking too.
Look at your phone.
Oh, Yeah, it just started playing a YouTube video for no reason.
I was like,
I was really thinking about going in my Gilbert Godfrey voice about not confining you and you playing hard to get with that, but I'm not going to.
Jafar. Oh wait, no. What was the parrot's name?
The parrot's name?
That would require me watching Aladdin past the age of 8.
I do not know.
What's your name?
I do not know.
Hi, what's your name? I'm Dad.
Oh no. Hi, this is Elf. What's your favorite color?
Yes.
Christmas.
Oh. I haven't seen Elf since I was like 12.
Santa.
It's a good Will Ferrell movie as far as Will Ferrell
Those
movies
exist?
go. As far as they go, it's a good one.
Okay, fair enough.
The only one better is Talladega Nights.
I've never seen Talladega Nights.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Sam.
This is a problem for me,
I'm
and you know
not
this,
mad. I'm just disappointed.
I saw ads for Talladega Nights on the DVDs we had, and my parents would never let me watch it.
Well, it's R-rated. It's not kid-friendly.
That's fair, I suppose.
It's like kids. This machete to be great. Just don't kill each other, or however he went with the.
What?
He was doing commercials in the movie.
Like
different
Wayne's
sponsors.
World? We would never fall to sponsorship. Sponsored by Doritos.
Pretty much.
I love Wayne's
Well,
World.
he's a race car driver, so it was like part of the movie was him doing promos for
Oh,
for his sponsors.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Guys, go watch Talladega Nights if you're over the age of 17.
Talladega, always raised up the whiskey. I really like that song.
So you'd like Talladega Nights then? It's set in
It's
stone.
It's
done.
an Eric Church song, just as a
It has
movie.
to be done.
Yeah.
Full circle or no circle.
Riley, you know
Full
that-
circle or no
you
circle.
know this is a constant problem with me, the amount of movies that I've just not seen.
But Sam, if I don't push you to watch more movies, you won't.
What's the
watch
other one
more.
that you've been telling me to watch forever? Hitched?
Hitch? Just Hitch with Will Smith.
You know, besides Suicide Squad, the only Will Smith movie I've ever actually seen is I Am Legend.
Which is also
have
such a good
So
movie,
you've never
but-
seen Men in Black?
Nope.
Ah.
Never seen Jurassic Park.
That is Will Smith.
Will
in Jurassic
Smith is
Park?
not
Okay,
But
okay,
it's
okay.
another like classic movie of the same era.
this is
I was like, what did I miss? Did he play the voice of the T-Rex or something?
No, I played the voice of Jeff Goldblum.
I don't
Life
remember. I don't remember Jacob
finds a
Hostler being
will.
in.
You don't remember what?
I don't remember Jacob Hostler being in that movie.
One of our friends has been told multiple times that he looks like Jeff Goldblum.
He does. Vaguely.
Vaguely. He's only been told that by people who are intoxicated.
Who said that?
Including himself.
It was Taylor.
Fantastic. Anyway, do you guys really have anything else to say about D&D? Just kind of getting into it. What do you suggest for everybody getting into if it's something they're kind of interested in?
It's not as nerdy as you think, and it's a lot nerdier than you think.
It is both of those things.
Yes.
Like it doesn't require
You
a
to be
vast
nerdy.
amount of nerdiness or nerd knowledge to play.
But once you start playing, you will become.
If you're into it. There are
I
people
would
who
say there's a lot of people who. I feel like if you get caught in the hook of wanting to play D&D, it'll definitely suck you in.
But you don't have to be an obsessive person to enjoy it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you enjoy, if you are naturally sucked into wanting to play the game,
Yeah.
it will definitely pull you under.
I feel like my initial impression of D&D and the reason I didn't get into it for so many years, maybe we can talk about a different why I didn't get into it for so many years a little bit, was because it was always kind of seen of like the last bastion of nerddom. Like,
I think Waylon might be getting in the toilet.
now Riley's going to get in the toilet. But I always viewed it as that last bastion of nerddom, like you are a super nerd pushed into a level that you will never recover from
He's
if you
chewing
play
on something.
if you play Dungeons and Dragons.
he's chewing on something.
But honestly, once I started to
He has a solid in his mouth.
get, okay, this is interesting.
We have a dog chewing on something that he's probably not supposed to be chewing on something. Sorry for the interruption, but we don't want him to choke and die.
This interruption is brought to you by Movement Watches.
MVMT. MVNT?
He's just
Was-
taking after Groot.
Move MVMNT.
It's MVMT.
MVMT. Isn't that thing that Joe Rogan keeps going on about, or is that DMT?
Both, probably.
We're
At
talking
one
about
point.
the BMV?
Probably. Yeah, we're talking about the BMV. I hate that place. You got to push and get a number, and then you got to wait. One time I pushed and got a number, but someone else had pushed and got a number, and then didn't put their ticket anywhere. They just set it next to the ticket machine and left. So there was a ticket number that was just sitting next to the machine, and I pushed the ticket number, and I got another ticket, and then they called that ticket that was sitting next to the machine, and they were like, come on, where are you, come on. And there was no one there because the ticket was sitting next to the machine.
I'm not a fan with how much money they take from me every year.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Guys, can we agree that you already paid taxes on the vehicle once when it was sold new, so you shouldn't have to pay taxes on it again after it was bought again, and then again after it was bought again, and then again after it was sold again, and then gas tax on gas, and then,
Taxes for roads and
This
states
is-
and all that shit.
Idiot State Pizza is not a political podcast.
it's not. It's just against taxation. That's excessive. I feel like that's fair.
You can't drive on the king's roads without proper documentation. Anyway, that's what my dad always said about hunting licenses. You can't hunt the king's deer.
Why is that cord moving? That's his tail. Okay.
Yeah, it's a puppy tail. Anyway, so getting back on track to what I was saying, like I always felt like it was the last bastion of nerddom. He's gonna take out your headphones so quick.
I got him.
The last bastion of nerddom.
Oh, look at him.
But when you actually get into it, and especially as a DM, how much work goes into it behind the scenes just to like write a story.
By the way, I'm totally down for helping create a story, some sort of campaign point or side quest or whatever for every single spot on that map you gave us.
It depends on if we actually like. Some of them we'll get to partly through the podcast, and some of them we won't.
Or I'd just be down to make up any kind of scenario we can
Right.
walk into anywhere.
Yeah.
And then act dumb when we get there.
It is a lot of work to build that sort of thing up, and I find the work really satisfying personally. Just being able to build those things into something that other people will enjoy. It is literally less about the nerdy fantasy magic sort of stuff with the orcs and dragonborn and all this other things, and it's more about how can I tell a bit more of an interesting story to everybody. I like role-playing games for that in general. Like there's Star Wars based ones, there's like sci-fi based ones. Ours is kind of a mix between fantasy and sci-fi.
Fi-fi.
But yeah, fi-fi. Order it now on HBO
Where do you
Max.
mix in the steampunk at? Because it definitely needs to happen.
There's a steampunk one. What is it called? Cannot remember for the life of me, but there's a steampunk based one. Some people, D&D itself, once you get into some of the more like extra content, there's a lot of steampunk based like technologies, like constructs run on Steam typically.
Well, the only reason I say that, I mean, you saw my Snapchat earlier today.
Oh yeah, with
I
the water
didn't.
pipe.
Oh, well, that's the Steam line.
He was working on Steam.
I worked for 10 hours. And
He worked for Gabe Newell,
Who?
the creator of Steam, the downloading engine for PC games. Yes,
I'm not that smart. I just play with
that's fair. That's
knobs
fair.
and dials and
So
all that fun
another
stuff.
thing, just a funny little ad hoc about Dungeons and Dragons. There was a big reason why I didn't get into it for as many years as I did, was because of the way that I was raised, and in a lot of the churches that I went to, it was very apparent that D&D was quote unquote evil and full of drugs and evil magic that was of the devil and like Latin
Absolutely.
and curses and all that. But really, it really all depends how much you want to get into that sort of stuff. And even when you do, it isn't as dark as all that. Like it's clearly,
Yeah.
it's
It also
clearly
boils
very
down to that it's just a game.
exactly
Yeah.
it's clearly very gamified and just to tell a story.
And I understand for certain age ranges, it's the type of thing that could become too formative for things that are obsessed over. For
Sure.
like you probably shouldn't be playing it unrestricted at maybe 10 years old. But
like Stranger Things.
yeah. Like
That's a little young.
That's like 12.
yeah, they were 12 to 13. But like you should have a grasp on reality prior to playing anything that's excessively fantasy, I think.
Sure, that
But
takes. I mean,
outside
like
of that.
D&D is like not being yourself for a couple hours.
Yeah.
It definitely is. Like you need to think in the realm of being a different character.
Yeah.
I will say nothing brought me more joy than when I was up at scout camp one time. We were up there for like woodcutters weekend, so we go up every like twice a year to go cut wood or firewood for camp all year long. And during lunch, this troop, which is a group of guys from a certain area that all meet every week, they were playing D&D at lunch. Like had the board out and their sheets and everything.
Wow.
Like it was awesome.
That's another thing about D&D that's an interesting thing is you don't need to be as dedicated as you think you need to be. Like I think there's a kind of a built-up expectation from certain purists of the game that are like, well, you need to read the entire player's handbook before you start playing, and you need to have like your character's backstory before you start in the campaign, and
I've not read
and
a
know all the
single page
rules.
of either one of those.
I have read very little of the player's handbook. I have learned most of it. And I don't even own the Dungeons Master's handbook. I don't. It's not even something I needed. Like I've listened to it. I learned most of it through podcasts, and the other stuff I've just looked up. You don't need to be as dedicated. Like you don't even really need character sheets. You can get them online, or you can just use paper. Like you could come up with your own system fairly easily. Like there's
So what's a part? I'm just curious. What's a part of the Dungeon Master's book?
So there's a lot of useful stuff in there. So my sister was telling me about, my sister hosts like 3 or 4 games a week. She's definitely into it way more than I am. But there's like random magic tables. Like if you ever need to come up with a random object that somebody's going to find as loot, you can use these tables that are in the Dungeons Master's handbook to, come up with some loot for people to find, or like how to do costs at towns. Like how much does a night at a tavern cost, or excuse me, things like that. A lot of the Dungeons Master's handbook is really rules heavy, which we do not play rules heavy. That's another great thing about it, is because there's no, because it's not like a video game where there's set parameters that the game throws at you. You can change the rules as much as you want to and make it as rules light or as rules heavy as you want. Like I've played with people that really like rules heavy, and then I've also played with people like we're doing right now, which is way more story heavy. Like we're trying to tell a story. I don't care where you spent the night, really. I don't care if you paid for it. I care about the bigger overarching story. Like if you were to watch our campaign as a movie, who cares where you spent the night? Who cares if you went to the bar
It'd
or
be
not?
cool to do like a visualization of the campaign we've done so far.
It would be
as our characters.
It would be very difficult.
I know. I'm just saying it'd be cool.
It would be cool. I think visualization in D&D is something that's really lacking. Like you have like the official stuff, and then you have like fan art, but overall the specific process of creating visualization for D&D is very lacking. I would love to see a program that helps you visualize things a little better. Like a 3D program where you could put things together.
That'd be kind of nifty.
Yeah, and I mean, there's people who do it for their stories if they have those particular talents, but I'm not a designer nor animator.
They have a particular set of skills.
Like Liam Neeson? Should I put him in our campaign?
Yes.
He should be someone in the town.
Who should I make? Like, which Liam Neeson? Qui-Gon Jinn?
I thought we were thinking Taken based on that, but
I was too, but Qui-Gon Jinn would
Qui-Gon
be
Jinn
way
would
more
work.
badass and like.
What about the guy from Batman?
Which guy from
Which one?
Batman?
How's that cool?
We're still thinking
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I just found a Qui-Gon Jinn Phantom Menace Lego head in my collection.
I have many of them in my Legos at home.
Phantom Menace Qui-Gon Jinns.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I had those Jedi Defender sets. I had like 6 of them.
Beautiful.
Because they were like $3 at Walmart.
Yes.
It'd be cool if you came across a small temple in the middle of the woods in D&D,
Well, I'm talking
That was
like
the Jedi
1999 Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh, interesting.
But instead of
Yeah, that's what I have.
But instead of
They didn't sell
lightsabers, they had
1999 Qui-Gon Jinn when you were going to Walmart.
Where did I get them?
You were like 3 when 1999
I was
Qui-Gon
2
when
Thank you.
1999 Qui-Gon Jinn came out.
I'm trying to think how I ended up with them. Anyway, it's not really important to the topic we're talking about.
That's fair.
Another thing,
But it's
like,
Lego, so it's kind of important. But continue.
I do want to talk a little bit more about, like, you really don't need to have all the stuff to play D&D. Like, you can just come in with a concept that you're like, I think this would be a cool character, and then
just have a pen and paper and a basic.
Yeah,
understanding
and like
your
I said, you
character.
can get the character sheets, like the official ones, online for free. There's
And
a ton of people with Google Docs and stuff.
There's
out
an
there
app
with
for
them.
that.
Yeah, and I run the entire campaign off of an app that's completely free. It's called
5e
D&D 5e Companion app. Correct.
There's
There's
also
also-
play off of D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond is the official one, and they do really make it easy, but unfortunately you have to buy a lot of stuff to get more like subclasses for your characters. But just like come with a concept, and like you don't have to get into the whole miniatures. You could use literally minifigures if you wanted to. You could use like you don't even need to do that whole visualization of battle either. Like that's not a necessary part of D&D. In fact, most of the podcasts don't even do that. And then there's like the opposite end of that. Like I've seen people put LCD screens in tables, and then they have a specific program that like lights up stuff as the characters move, and like it
definitely
shows
wanna
the
build one of
range
those.
that you can see with light and things like that. But it's really cool. Like you can get as into it as you want to, or you can spend absolutely no money. I think actually, weirdly enough, for as dedicated as I am to D&D right now, it is one of my least spent money on hobbies in a long, long time.
And there's plenty of resources out there. 12,000 different YouTube channels on it, and find people that you
I don't
like to
watch
do
any
it.
of them.
Yeah, but if you like YouTube and you want to get into D&D,
Yeah,
they're there.
I mean,
They're
there are
there.
tons of channels. There's plenty of podcasts out there for you too that at least will give you like an idea of what a campaign would look like, or what would telling a story in this way look like. I listen to, like 2 or 3 different podcasts that are Dungeons and Dragons, and then one's a Star Wars based one in a very similar light. That's a lot of fun.
Nice.
So, what are you staring at?
I don't know. I'm just looking off into the void, man.
It's all conspiracy, man.
No, we had that episode already.
No, that's a Cars reference.
You did what in your cup?
You did what in your cup?
So anyway, that's pretty much what I think we have to say about Dungeons and Dragons. Get into it. It's a lot of fun. I will make this caveat. It is going to be a time sink. It will take up some of your time, especially if you're the DM, but if you take yourself really seriously as a character, it will also take up a lot of your time.
That's a couple hours a week.
I think we play anywhere between 2 to 4 hours a week. But I also if it's 2 to 4 hours for you guys, it's 4 to 8 for me.
True.
I put in a lot of work over the week as a dungeon master. That is, I will say to players looking out there, consider going to a D&D shop for your first couple of games. I know it costs money, but it's better to just get like an idea. And also it's a lot easier to find a dungeon master. Like that is the hard thing with D&D, is finding somebody to lead a game or getting in on somebody's game, especially if they're already into a 2-year campaign and then you hop in the middle of it. It's going to be very difficult to incorporate your character properly. And if they're playing the game right, you should be starting at level 1 and everybody's a level 15. Like you're just going to get murked immediately, and then it's no fun. Obviously, if a DM is good and he wants to keep you in the campaign, he'll do some work to help you out with that sort of thing. But it can be a bit of a exclusive community at times. Yeah.
So y'all.
So there we go. I think that's pretty much all we have to say on D&D. I know in the very near future I want to start talking about what were our favorite things for the year, what are our New Year's resolutions.
I think that should be next week's.
I think that should be next week's, because I think this podcast will go out the week before Christmas, or the week of Christmas, and
I'll say
then
this is the week before Christmas,
the week of Christmas.
which is next week.
Correct, is
Christmas
when this
is
one will go
Christmas
out.
is on a Saturday.
So the next podcast we do will be our kind of yearly recap. And also, I will kind of want to wait on that one because I want to watch Spider-Man No Way Home before
That's going to be
I...
expensive.
What, watching that movie?
Yeah, I thought that was like only in exclusive theaters.
It comes out yesterday.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm almost certain it came out yesterday. But I want to watch that before the end of the year so I can fit it in my yearly
Favorite
recap.
things.
Well, Spider-Man is
your
one of my favorite
thing of the whole year.
Let me know, bro.
My favorite thing for the whole year was probably the Midwest trip.
That's fair. Is it still unconfirmed if Tobey Maguire's in there?
Yeah.
How is it still unconfirmed?
Well, okay.
I don't think it's not.
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
It's so hard to tell because there's so many things that are fan based and so many things that are speculation and only a few things that are actually canon.
Why did it give it to me? Spider-Man: Homecoming. Oh no, it doesn't. It comes out the 17th, so this Friday. It comes out on Friday, y'all. Y'all, we gotta go watch Spider-Man.
We go watch Spider-Man.
We go
watch Spider-Man.
Spider-Man would be dope.
I can't this Friday.
Okay.
Well, I can't this Friday
We can
either.
go watch it on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I can do next
I know
week.
we've already talked about Spider-Man, but just Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man hits his G-spot.
What? Hold on a second. That sounds like something I would find online
Just
accidentally.
like my thumb.
Oh my god. All right.
Guys, I'll practice that for you. I
So
promise.
yeah, I think what we're gonna do is kind of do a yearly recap. Maybe we should come up with like, we don't have to listen to the whole thing and do like a recap like we did last week, but like come up with a couple songs, come up with a couple movies,
One song.
one song, one movie, and then we'll come up with a couple
One
other
shot, do
topics.
not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity
It comes once in a lifetime. Yo, it's mom's spaghetti all over his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. But on the surface, he looks like spaghetti to drop spaghetti all over
Spaghetti.
his spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and leave it there, everybody. I think. Thank you all.
Wicca Wicca outro.
Thank you all for listening. I was working on it, Caleb.
I know.
You
us-
guys cut
hit
me
us with
off
those
every
links, bro.
time.
I was cutting you off as a transition.
Ah,
Big brain move.
200 IQ.
Nice.
This has been ADHD Pizza. We would like to thank the Printer Friendly guys for letting us use their song Evergreen, especially our friend Josh. You can find me at Mopsky on Instagram. You can find Caleb at Your Meme is So Fat with a PH on Instagram. And you can find Riley at _batch_98
Absolutely.
on Instagram. You can find ADHD Pizza on many different socials. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at ADHD Pizza Pod. You can find us on YouTube at ADHD Pizza Podcast, and you can find us on TikTok, even though we haven't uploaded anything yet, but we're working on it.
When's the last time we uploaded to YouTube?
And soon,
I upload to YouTube every week now.
And
Oh, you
soon
do?
we'll be,
Yeah, I just post the audio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
soon we'll be releasing a Spotify and maybe YouTube music list of all the songs we review.
That will be
correct?
coming out with this last week's podcast.
All right.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
Yeah. So that will be. We also need to work on. I can probably work on it tomorrow sometime.
Adding
We're gonna work on
previous-
getting a super list of all the songs that we've talked about on the podcast into a playlist that you can just go back and listen to.
That is a long list.
It's already 20 songs long.
Well, plus all the other ones, the extra ones we listened to when we first went through songs.
No, it's 20 songs altogether. Because we each came up with 3, so 9, and then we came up with 10, and then Evergreen would be 20.
Yeah, but think about all the other different songs we mentioned while we were going through the songs.
Oh, no.
the first
It'll
time
be the
around.
ones when we do the song episodes.
Well, you said all the songs we mentioned.
All the songs we've mentioned forever. You know who else has songs that he mentioned in specifically to a U2 album that he forced on our iPhones in 2012?
Steve Jobs
As a
as a
Disney
Disney princess.
That's correct, sir.
Nice.
This has been ADHD Pizza. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
That felt wrong.
You feel wrong.
Bye.